Spend your lunch with Steph Renee
and the Reverend Al Sharpton.
We are 900 AM WURD Philadelphia
And 900 AM WURD.com.
Pennsylvania's only black-owned talk radio station.
The views and opinions expressed by the guests, listeners, and hosts of any show on 900 AM WURD do not necessarily reflect those of ownership, management, or advertisers of this station.
Good evening and welcome to the Jazz Kitchen. I'm your host, Brother Ben, and I got my co-host sitting right here next to me, Mr. Dow Jones, my arranger, my producer, the brother that makes all this happen. I'd like to say Happy Father's Day out there to all the fathers. This was a special Father's Day for me, and for all the, I know it's special for everybody. But this is a weekly program that comes on every Sunday night from 10 to midnight. The Jazz Kitchen. We play all different types of music. Today we had our every other Sunday show, the Safe Talk, where we played music from the Jazz Kitchen. And a lot of people called in today and always say, where did you get that music from? I'd like to welcome all my tri-state listeners. And I'd like to say Assalamu alaikum and Ramadan Mubarak to my Muslim community. Today, Father's Day comes once a year. It's a very special day. It's one of those days where we take time out to thank the king of the house. Fathers are very special. And, I just always like to let everybody know that, you take out that one day for that special person. And, just like we have Mother's Day, we have Father's Day. The weather was beautiful today. I went out Fairmount Park. The brother Bilal Qayyum has his annual Father's Day picnic. Yesterday we had a major event at the Beckett Life Center on 16th Street, and the Jazz Kitchen had a booth out there, and we mingled with all the young children and the seniors out there at the center. The Beckett Life Center is a center that supplies and has all type of resources for the Beckett community over there on 16th Street. It was a beautiful affair. As you know, this program is sponsored by TrainOsha.com. They're one of our affiliates. Another affiliate of the Jazz Kitchen is Thomas Mortgage Company. And we have several locations in the city of Philadelphia that sell our CDs. We're already up to volume 25. The proceeds from the CDs support a nonprofit organization that we have that feeds the homeless in the tri-state area. You are now listening to Black Talk Media, This is WURD 900 AM. If you feel free to call in at any time at 215-634-8065 or at 866-361-0900. Call and give us your opinion. Tell us how we're doing. If you have any requests, please don't hesitate to call in. And also, you can hear us live, direct feed on 900amwrd.com. So I'd like everybody to sit back. We're going to keep this show moving today and play some of this good jazz music. All right. Starting off this evening with that boy Randy Scott, man. Kisses. This brother here, man, he's been with everybody, man. You know, he did a little bit with Hiroshima, Nancy Wilson. Used to work with the late, great Grover, Marion Meadows. This brother's, I mean, he's definitely on that smooth jazz scene. We're going to get into a little bit of James Vargas. real sexy piece, man. That boy James Vargas, man, that's called Curtain Call. His self-titled album came out in 2007. Oh, man, he's from out there in Great Britain, man. He plays that sax, man, unreal, man. We gonna keep this thing moving. Got my main man, Brian Culberson. All right. Oh, that's that Brian Culberson. Y'all know I love him. Hey, you're listening to The Jazz Kitchen with your host, Brother Ben. And I have my co-host with me tonight, Mr. Darryl Jones. Happy Father's Day there, Darryl.
Thank you, brother.
All right,
man.
what'd you do today on Father's Day?
yourself.
Okay.
I just sit around home. You know what I'm saying? Just basically clean up.
Right.
Listen to jazz like always.
All right. You know, you guys are listening to the Jazz Kitchen. We are a non-profit organization in the tri-state area. The proceeds from the sale of the tapes help us to feed the homeless. You know, you can purchase these tapes at several locations in the city. One of the locations is Michael's Barbershop at Ogonson Cheltenham Avenue in the West Oak Lane Center. I can also buy the CDs at First Decision, Brother Ty out there on 40th Street between Chestnut and Walnut. And you can also get the CDs at several locations that we have. We have Mark Lightfoot at the Philadelphia Hair Company. He's also one of our distributors. And right next door to him, we have the Unreal shop where you buy flowers for different events and whatever. This brother over there, he's a good brother. He does a hell of a floral arrangements over there. So I want you to stop in and yell at him, and he'll throw a couple of those CDs at you. We want to always let you know if you need to call us directly at the station and talk to us. It's 215-634-8065, and the toll free is 866-361-0900. And if you want to call us direct at the Jazz Kitchen, you can definitely reach us at any time at area code 215-678-0470. Oh man, today the weather was fabulous. It was just one of those great days, a good Sunday to sit back and listen to some jazz. I got out today with my better half. Me and my wife went fishing today, and we caught a rock. That's about the best we could do, but we act like fishermen. But we had a good time out there, and I had an opportunity to go out to, like I say, Brother Bilal Quayoun had the Father's Day picnic out. All the parks were jumping today. Everybody was out celebrating and giving their best wishes to that king of the house, Father's Day. So again, from WURD and the Jazz Kitchen, I want to wish all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day. That Norman Brown, man. Boy, his music, man, that's Night Drive, man. That album, that one was on that album, Just Chillin', came out in 2002, man. This man, he's one of the best in that guitar thing. He puts it down, man. That album there, you know, Just Coolin', man, that was one of his good albums, man. I play that thing all the time. We're gonna keep this thing moving. You're listening to The Jazz Kitchen with your host, Brother Ben. All right, boy. That Jessie J, boy, she putting that Spanish touch on that, boy. She does her thing there, Una Mas, off the album May One and Only. It came out in 2015, man. Wow, that's really sweet there. We're gonna keep it moving. Play a little of this Chris Bodie. That's my man. CB, why not? Was recorded live in 2006 at the Newport Jazz Festival, Newport, Rhode Island. I'd like to let you know this evening we're going to start something real new. It's going to be called the Vegas Jazz Connection, where Brother D from out of Vegas, he's going to be doing a segment every week, and I think this week he's going to be talking about Pat Metheny. So we're going to be bringing him on at quarter of, and just want to let everybody know to tune in, stay tuned. I know everybody watching that game, but we don't, you want to keep the Jazz Kitchen on with Brother Ben, and got my co-host over here. Hey, Daryl, what's going on? What we got coming up next?
Oh, we got Candy Duffler's track called Smooth.
All right. All right. Boy, that Candy Dolphin, man, she keeps it smooth. It's off the 2008 album, Smooth, man. We're going to keep it moving. Looks like LeBron and them might be doing it this year, man. And I'm so happy for that brother, man. He inspired me. You know, he's been the underdog all through the series, and he was down, you know, and I hope he pulls this thing off tonight. You know, that's right, y'all. This brother Ben, I was a Cleveland fan, man. So hope everything goes good. I know he went down with a little injury, but we're going to keep you posted. Let's keep this thing moving. Everett Hart. Well, y'all, the king has brought it home, brother. That's right, like I told y'all brothers out there in WURD world. LeBron, the king, he's done it. He's made history. Only man to come back from 3-1. Been in the finals 6 years in a row. All right, y'all. That's right, you know I'm in good spirits. All right, y'all. All right. All right, now, for the first time, we're going to bring on the Vegas Jazz Connection with Brother D. Brother Dwayne, how you doing out there in Vegas?
I'm doing great, brother, man. It's actually excellent out here. The temperature is about 107 degrees. It's about 7 7-1, and we are all excited out here in Las Vegas because Cleveland won that championship.
Man, they won that thing in style. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
they did.
And
Yeah.
I've been getting beat up, man. I went to my brother's barbershop. The whole barbershop beat on me. You know, it is like when I come and I bring everybody over to the house and I'm the only one, and they put me out my own house. Well, they can't put me out now because like I told them from the door. I told them last year, when you get the king mad and you embarrass him, he going to come back and get you. And I'm proud of that, brother.
That's right.
But this the Jazz Kitchen with Brother Ben, and this segment is going to come on every week, the Vegas Jazz Connection with Brother Dwayne. And Brother Dwayne, what do we have on store this week? What are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about Pat Metheny. Pat Metheny, who's out of, actually, most people know Pat Metheny as the Pat Metheny Group or the Pat Metheny Trio. Pat Metheny, whose career spanned over 30 years, has produced 46 albums. 46 albums. Pat actually comes out of Lee Summit, Missouri. He's about 61 years old. He got started, actually, Ben Bout, when he was about 15 years old. He won a scholarship, and they took him up to New York, and he actually got a chance to sit around with John Hall and Ron Carter. He had his first two albums that he produced, the group was informed. And his first two albums that he actually had, he had Right Size Life, which came out in 1976, and he had Watercolors, which came out in 1977. Now, he gained critical acclaim in 1978 when they formed the Pat Metheny Group. And then that group was Pat Metheny on six-string guitar. He had Lyle Mays on synthesizer. He had Mark Egan on bass, and he had Danny Gottlieb on drums. Now, for me, that was actually trying to get lightning in a bottle because that was probably the greatest Pat Metheny group of all time. I was just always a big fan of Danny Gottlieb. I know years later, Sanchez joined the group as a drummer. He's been the drummer for a very long time. Prior to that, they had another guy who was his drummer for about good 18 years. But Danny Gottlieb, Mark Egan, Lyle Mays, and Lyle Mays been a partner with Pat Metheny for at least 29 years.
Wow.
Pat Metheny been around for a very, very, very long time. But for me, I actually got involved with jazz like the early part of 70, 72. When it was actually starting to become a trend around in Philadelphia.
Right.
It became a real big trend. And I have to say that my very first album of Pat Metheny was the Off-Ramp album.
Right.
That was a very powerful album. I actually seen Pat Metheny in concert at least 17 times. It had gotten to a point that he would come and perform in Philadelphia at the Tower Theater, or he would play out at the Dell, and then the next night he would normally go right up to New York and play at the Beacon Theater.
Wow.
He's one of the guys that when he performs, he actually gives you 2.5 hours of a show.
Right.
2.5 hours. Now, let me tell you this. Even though he made 46 albums, most people don't know that Pat Metheny performs anywhere between 120 to 140 shows per year. The guy's been nonstop. He has won countless Grammys. He's been in business for 30 years, but he had 46 albums.
Wow.
Think of that.
Wow.
He gained a lot of knowledge with his trio, but that Pat Metheny group is like no other.
Wow.
When he came out in my favorite album, when they formed the group in 1978 with the Pat Metheny group, that Off-Ramp album, which was live, was a very powerful album. That in '83 he came out with a Travels album called Travels. But in 1984 he came out and he won a Grammy for that First Circle album. Wow. Very good album.
Well, I know me and you been to a couple of his concerts, and I remember one time you came over to Jersey when I was over there living in Jersey, and you brought me him live, and we sat up there and watched it for a couple hours.
Yes, unbelievable show. He puts on a hell of a show. And you know some of the notable instruments that Pat Metheny plays. He played the Gibson ES 175. He also played a Roland GR30. He played a Picasso guitar and a synclavier.
Wow.
Very, very good, very, very good musician, songwriter, composer. He plays acoustic guitar, the guitar synthesizer. He's very active. He was on labels ECM, Griffin, and none as such. He's always been associated with associate acts. He's been Jaco Pasterio, Herbie Hancock, Jim Hall, Ornette Coleman. The guy's just phenomenal. Most people don't know, I just put out there for our listeners out there in WURD, that Pat actually attended the University of Miami. And in 1972, he was offered a teaching position at University of Miami. Then he actually moved over to Boston and began teaching at Boston at Berklee College of Music with jazz artist Gary Burton.
Wow.
He first made his name as a teenage prodigy underneath Burton. In 1974, he made a recording on 2 sessions with Paul Bay and Kyle Gross. The guy is just, if you ever check out his bio, it go on and on and on and on. You move on up to 1977, he had Watercolors, and that's when he first featured Lyle Mays.
Well, we don't have to, people don't have to go anymore and look at his bio. All they have to do is tune in every Sunday and listen to the Vegas Jazz Connection with Brother Dwayne, because every week you're going to break down a new artist every week. You're going to go back in the day, now, and in the future, man. Hey, I can see where do you get all this research from, brother? Where do you get it from?
I've been a fan of Pat Metheny since 1972.
Wow.
73, 74. Anytime he within a 100 to 200 mile radius, I always try to attend his show.
Okay.
Let me just put this out there. After Mark Egan left his band, he had a young man named Steve Roby. He played a double and electric bass, and he joined him in 1980. And then he also had Paul Wachurko, who actually replaced him in 73. He replaced Danny Gottlieb in 1983. And Paul Wachurko played with them for 18 years.
Wow.
And then he was replaced by Sanchez, who's currently a member of the Pat Metheny Trio.
All right.
Pat, yes.
All right, well, let me say this, Dwayne, Brother Dwayne. Today was Father's Day. And I know you have that beautiful daughter out there in medical school, and she's doing her thing. And what was special for you about today, about Father's Day? What did you do today for Father's Day?
Oh, actually, I just sat back and did some reading and relaxed. I went to prayer service today.
All right.
Which was good, which I try to do every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, I try to take it easy.
All right.
I actually attended an event yesterday over at the Pearson Center here in Las Vegas, where all brothers got together with their children, and we had a meal. And after the meal, we loaded 2 buses and actually went over to Circus Casino, where all the kids got on a ride.
Good.
And it was a real good event yesterday because people go all out for Mother's Day. They go all out for Mother's Day to make a big thing, but there are some real good brothers out here that actually doing a damn good job raising children by themselves or just being a good father altogether. As yourself and I,
right.
We're very active in our children's lives, so it's a very special day. But, if you're a good father, every day is a good day when you're trying to, raise children to grow up and be successful and stay away from the negativity that's in our world today.
Listen, Brother Dwayne, you know, next week we want you to outdo what you did this week. This is going to be a weekly segment. This show that connects with Vegas. I mean, we ain't talking about Jersey. We ain't talking about New York. We connected with Vegas. Brother Dwayne, I want to give you salams, assalamu alaikum, and can't wait to get to you next week. Yeah, I want you to have a good one. Enjoy the rest of your Father's Day and enjoy that Cavaliers victory. Until next time, brother, I want you to, keep it real. And be safe. And remember, like I always said, in order to get down, you got to get in deep. Thank you, Brother Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Brother Ben. Take care.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
once again, that was Pat Metheny with Jocko. You're listening to WURD 900 AM, Black Talk Media. This is the Jazz Kitchen with your co-host, Brother Daryl.
The only place in Philly to find Roland Martin
And Al Sharpton.
900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
And 900AMWURD.com.
Pennsylvania's only black-owned talk radio station.
Yes, that was Soul Traveler by Marion Meadows. It was off the album Soul Traveler 2015. This is indeed one of the best CDs he put out. I can ride to this music all day.
All right. You're all listening to WURD with your host, Brother Ben. I got my co-host over here, Mr. Darryl Jones. Mr. Darryl Jones is the arranger, man. He's the producer. He puts everything together, the show. I mean, I don't have to do nothing but come here and sit in front of this mic and run my mouth because he's got everything written down. He does his homework. He produces the CDs. He arranges the CDs. These CDs are awesome. People call us every day, man. Where can I get them? You know, and like I said, the proceeds from these CDs is to feed the homeless because, you know, our faith teaches us to give back, especially in the month of Ramadan. You know, we got to, you know, it's people out there, man. I go out and go to different spots in the city where the brothers be and sisters and they hungry children or whatever, and you know, you gotta feed them, man. You gotta give back because everybody needs a little help. This is WURD in the community, in the neighborhood, and on air. This is 900 AM with Brother Ben, the Jazz Kitchen. Yeah, man. That's that Bob James. You know, next week on the Vegas Jazz Connection with Brother Dwayne, I'm going to get him to feature Bob James because Bob James is like Pat Metheny, man. He's been in the business, man. He's from CTI, Blue Note. He's been around, man. Bob has played with everybody, man. David Sanborn, Earl Klugh, oh man, Lee Ritenour, oh, him and David Easton, man, with that band Foreplay. You know, Bob is one of my favorites. When I first got into jazz back in the day, you know, Bob did a thing with me, man, and I mean, he just did something to me. I've been following him for years. I mean, him and Earl Klugh got a piece. He does that piece. I believe he's on that piece with Power Soul, with Idris Muhammad. Him and Grover have done some things. I mean, Bob James, man, is an icon in the jazz, smooth jazz industry, you know. So next week, you know, on the Vegas Jazz Connection with Brother Dwayne, we're going to feature Bob James, man, and the history on him and what he brings. He's still kicking it. I mean, I caught him in New York with David Sanborn at a theater up there one night, and I mean, oh man, he was at the Blue Note up in New York. I mean, Bob, man, if you ever hear Bob gonna be somewhere, stop what you doing, man, and get a ticket. This is WURD, the Jazz Kitchen, with your host, Brother Ben, my co-host and director, Darryl. And I want to wish everybody out there, fathers, happy Father's Day. And you know what? You know I'm happy, man. My man LeBron, man, he came through for a good brother. So we're going to keep this thing moving, and we're going to get into a little bit more Pat Metheny and let you hear some of the real Pat, with the Pat Metheny group. Okay, and I want everybody to, the one particular cut that I played with Pat, it wasn't one of his famous Grammy Award winner, because he has a lot of deep music. But I'm gonna put some things on to bring you up to speed on some of his new stuff and let you guys out there know about Pat. Boy, you hear Pat? Do you hear him? Man, this album was 1987, man. Come on, y'all. Pat, man, he got 20 Grammy winners. You only need one. He got 20. Man, this man is awesome, man. Brother Dwayne, man, listen, man. He know how we feel about Pat, man. I done seen him 10 times. The Tower, the Dell. Oh, man, I saw him up in New York, man. I mean, Pat is, I just got to keep it moving, man. Let's hear some more, Pat. There you go, man. That was the feature tonight with the Vegas Jazz Connection with Brother Wayne. And Brother Dwayne will come to you every week at the quarter of the hour with a new artist. Every week he'll, break it down to you. Brother Darryl, what is your knowledge of, and how did Pat Metheny touch you in the jazz? Have you ever heard him before?
Yes, I heard Pat Metheny a long time ago.
Okay.
He's really great, man. He's great. And actually, he has a concert over in Italy coming up soon.
Wow. Yeah, I know he's international. This is WURD. You're listening to The Jazz Kitchen, and I'm your host, Brother Ben. I got my co-host with me at all time, Mr. Darryl Jones, and now, another thing, we got Dave in here now. Dave Fritz, man, one of the baddest engineers in the city. So, this can't, if it wasn't for him, y'all wouldn't hear anything. But we always want to acknowledge the people that helped put the Jazz Kitchen together. We need all the help. We're young. We've just been on the air for a couple months now, and it's a learning curve for me. It's a dream come true. I always wanted to get involved with radio, and this is the best way for me to do it. Like I say, I produce and put together these CDs with Brother Darryl, and we go out into the neighborhoods and all type of events. We're set up now. If you ever want to have, instead of dance music, and you like to have jazz at your party, do not hesitate to call us at area code 215-678-0470. Again, the number is 215-678-0470, and it's the Jazz Kitchen. We do catering, and we do jazz music along with the catering for any size party that you have. So don't hesitate to call us. In the near future, after Ramadan is somewhere around July 4th, that following week, we're going to have out here at the William Penn area over here. It's a picnic area right here at Delaware Avenue and Columbia Avenue. We're going to have every week on Sunday a picnic, and it's going to be a picnic. We're going to feed the homeless, and we're going to play jazz music, play cards, volleyball, and do a lot of fishing. So look forward to that. It gives us an opportunity and a platform to give back in the community, have some homeless people come by. We're going to have some city projects along helping us, talk to some counselors and some people in the medical field, and talking to some of these homeless people. They need help. They need more than food. Some of them need medical attention. Some need some counseling. Some of these homeless people are our brothers, our sisters, our cousins. So, like I say, our faith teaches us, whether we're Christian, Muslim, or Buddhism, or whatever, you always have to give back, and, you live by your blessings. God will bless you. That's His children. And through His power, through us, we're able to support a nonprofit situation, feeding the homeless, which is the Jazz Kitchen. You're listening to WURD 900 AM on your dial. All right. That's Boney James and Rick Braun, and you got Foreplay in there, man. Love Like That. Hey, listen, man, I told you, man, that Bob James and Foreplay, hey, they play with everybody. Now, you know what? I got a special guest on the phone, y'all. I got a brother, man, that kind of like, hey, this brother raised me, man, and I keep, I've been begging him, and I got to go kidnap this brother, man. That's the only way I'm gonna get him on, because he doing this thing. But if it wasn't for this brother here, man, this is one of the top 5 brothers that got me introduced to jazz. I want to introduce everybody out there in WURD land and in the tri-state area to Mr. Carl Fleming. Carl, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks, man. Glad to be here.
Right. I had told you earlier, Carl, that, a good friend that me and you grew up, Mr. Brother Dwayne, he has a show now on our show called the Vegas Jazz Connection. And tonight, Brother Dwayne featured Pat Metheny. And I mean, he broke it down, man. We was on here for about 15, 20 minutes, and he went all the way back. This man got 20 Grammys. So, in the future, I want you on the show. You've done several tapes for me. You put together a couple tapes for me to actually have on one of my volumes. You play my volumes every volume I get. I make sure I put it in your door for your approval. And I just like to, give you an opportunity, to tell people, what jazz means to you and how you push that thing on me. And what's going on? What's happening, Slim?
Hey, man, jazz is beautiful, man. It's something, like that helps you get through the day. It helps you get through the year, really. It's like peace of mind, really peace of mind.
Right.
And, you try to spread it as much as you can because you don't want to be selfish with it, you know what I mean? You have to have a lot of feel and desire to really listen to a lot of jazz, because it gives it to you.
Right. What do you think about Pat Metheny? If, someone asked you how long you've been playing him, some of the different cuts, I mean, what is your take on Mr. Metheny?
Pat Metheny is fantastic, man. Terrible. He's just, terrible is a word that means great, in slang.
Right.
But other than that, Pat Metheny is fabulous, man.
Right.
Really is.
And like you say, when you be playing that music, we be sitting there in the living room jam. You say, "Ooh wee!" That's one of your favorite things, man.
Exactly.
Slim, you have meant so much to me. You've put me down. I remember years ago, man. We set up there, man. You had them Bose 901s, and one of the cuts you gave to me, and always keep when I hear it was that Dave Grusin, that movie 3 Days of the Condor.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave was up on there. I think he had a couple other big singers and entertainers with him, or people that played instruments, and you really, shaped me as far as the jazz thing. You have several of my tapes. What do you think of the arrangements and things and how we're putting this thing together?
They're real nice. They each one gives you a different filter of jazz or whatever, because there's such a variety of them. You got like from 1 to 20.
Right.
And as they got up to like 10, from 10, they just started getting more and more deeper. That's all.
Okay.
I mean, a variety of music, like just putting together the artists that you put together, and then you begin to feel, the texture, what was going on, from the cuts that you had on all of them from 1 to 15.
Okay.
Very good, man.
I really appreciate it. Well, one day, like I said, I know I'm going to have to kidnap you and bring you over here, but I want you to come in studio with us, help us, man, because this Jazz Kitchen is, it's a whole different thing. It's not like your regular jazz station.
Right.
The Jazz Kitchen is a nonprofit organization that feeds the homeless. The profits from the CDs, we use them to, buy food and different things. And, like we did a Dune Day, and a lot of, you're a South Philly boy. I know you've been, North Philly and South Philly, but everybody came through. We were down there on 20th and South, and this weekend we were on 16th Street, and we did the Beckett Life Center. So every week we try to, get this message out there and let people know about the Jazz Kitchen. But like I say, one day I want to invite you onto the show, Brother Carl, and I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I'll be talking to you this week, man. But thanks for tuning in, brother.
Hey, man, thanks for touching base.
All right, my man. Good seeing you, Slim. Peace.
Okay. Peace.
her face. Whatever bread's in my mouth, whatever the sweetest wine that I taste. Whenever your memory feeds my soul, whatever got broken becomes whole. Whenever I'm filled with doubts that we will be together.
Wherever I lay me down, wherever I put my head to sleep, whenever I hurt and cry, whenever I've got to lie awake and weep, whenever I kneel to pray, whenever I need to find a way, I'm calling out your name.
Whenever those dark clouds hide the moon,
Whenever this world has gotten so strange, something's gonna change.
whenever I say your name, already prayed, already filled with the joy that I can't explain. Wherever I lay me down, wherever I rest my weary head to sleep, whenever I hurt and cry,
Got to lie awake and weep.
whenever I'm on the floor, wherever it was that I believed before,
Whenever I say your name,
whenever I say it loud.
already prayed.
Whenever this world has got me down, whenever I shed a tear, whenever the TV makes me mad, whenever I'm paralyzed with fear, whenever those dark clouds fill the sky, whenever I lose the reason why, whenever I'm filled with doubts that we will be together.
Whenever the sun refuses to shine, whenever the skies are pouring rain,
Whatever I lost, I thought was mine.
whenever I close my eyes in pain,
Whenever I kneel to pray,
whenever I need to find a way, calling out your name.
whenever the start begins to fall, all is small.
Whenever I feel like I can die,
Whenever I'm holding back the tears that I cry,
whenever I see your name,
I say your name. So wide your
already
is in my mouth. Whatever the sweetest wine that I taste,
whenever I lay me down,
wherever I rest my weary head to sleep.
wherever I hurt and die,
Forced to lie awake and have to weep.
whenever I'm on the floor,
Whatever it was that I believed before,
whenever I say your name,
whenever I say it loud. Whenever I say your name, no matter how long it takes, one day we'll be together. We will be together. Whenever I say your name,
I say it when I hurt and cry,
no mistake, that day will last.
feel like I'm gonna die.
Whenever I say your name, whenever I say your name, no matter how long it takes, one day we'll be together. One day we'll be together. I say
All right, y'all. That's that boy Sting. And there you go again. You know, Sting works with everybody, man. You know, Mary J was out there in London. You know, she was with that brother that won the #1 record in the country. She was a duet with that, helped him write and produce it. They won Grammys, they won everything on it. And while she was out there, she, you know, Sting from London, and they sit down and, you know, Mary J. Blige, man, she's like your new Chaka Khan. They both are similar. They can work with everybody. That's fabulous when entertainers and singers say, listen, man, I want to find Mary, or I want to find Chaka and Patty Austin. You know, that's what we do, man. We bring out the character in different performers and play records that you might never hear. Who knew that Sting and Mary had a piece together? Just like we got that piece, we have Ball and Chain with George Duke and Tina Marie. Oh man, I mean, and both of them had passed, and people would have never known. But that's what we do here at the Jazz Kitchen. We're gonna educate you and bring that real music to you. We're gonna keep this thing rolling. We're gonna get into a little Warren Hill. All right, y'all. Let me tell you something about me, man. I love them fast ones, but I'm crazy about them slow jazz pieces, man. It's just mellow. Like Brother Carl said, man, when you riding in your car, man, you put your tune on. You ever wear a tune out? I played a tune all the way to work one day. Oh, man, all the way to work. Just kept hitting it. Just because it's just something about it, the character of the artist, man. When you get them CDs and listen to the whole CD, you know what I mean? So you get to know the character of the artist, you know, and you hear records that you might not ever hear on the mainstream. You get to really know, man. That's Warren Hill, man. September Morning. We're going to keep this thing moving, man, and get with one of the greats, man. Sade. Ooh. right. That's Sade, man. That was on Stronger with Pride in 1988. Man, that got to be one of the most well put together beats of all time. You know, I've been featuring a couple of my buddies I come up with, you know. I'm always going to shout out to them. I'm not trying to do this show, you know, like I said, I got my partner next to me. He's made all it possible, man. My brother Daryl, man. You know, he can't do this show alone. I got my engineer, Dave, and I reached out, you know, I got my brother now with the Vegas Jazz Connection, Brother Wayne. And, you know, Brother Dwayne's been with me for a minute. He loves jazz, and put you on to one of my old mentors in the jazz segment, you know, Mr. Carl Fleming. And, you know, I got my brother down there in Atlantic City, man. I'm going to dedicate this next record to him. He's going to know why. But I got my man MD down there, Mike Day. He's crazy about that jazz also. He always makes me some tapes and sends them up to me. So, Mike, I'm dedicating this one to you, and you know why. Okay. Coming up on the hour, you're listening to the Jazz Kitchen with Brother Ben. I want to thank everybody for listening to me this evening. This was a special show. You know, it was Father's Day. It was the NBA championship. You know, I had my first show with Brother Dwayne, the Vegas Jazz Connection. I had my good brother on, Brother Carl Fleming. It's just, you know, every show is special, man. This is the month of Ramadan, which is very special for me. Gives me an opportunity to reflect and change some ways and do some good things and Keep it going. Ramadan is a start. It's just because it's over, you got to keep them things going, and that's where my head is. So, coming to the end of the show, I want to thank my engineer, Mr. David Fritz. I want to thank my co-host, Mr. Darrell Jones. And I want to thank all my listeners out there, especially my family, all my sons. Thank you for being there with me today. My wife, you know, we went out today and bonded a little bit, doing some fishing. Keep that up. And all my listeners. And like the good Reverend says, keep it real. And I always say, if you want to get down, you got to get in deep. Peace.
Countless victims of human trafficking walk among us, invisible until now. The Blue Campaign provides a unified voice for those who work to combat human trafficking. It's time to open our eyes. Learn what you can do by visiting dhs.gov/Blue Campaign.
Drive in with Solomon Jones.
And drive home with Nick Taliaferro.
We are 900 AM WURD Philadelphia.
And 900 AM WURD.com.